Okay, everyone coming along all right? I'm gonna pop up the behavior plan. Everybody see my screen? Just kind of wanted to show you the template, go over some of it, see if you guys have questions. Really, you have a gap here now that FBA is pretty much done. Now it's starting on the behavior intervention plan. And so really, if you look at the syllabus, the way it's laid out, that's the next thing that's coming up due is the behavior intervention plan. And so we have a gap in as far as anything coming up due, but I wanted to spend a little bit of time and just look at the template form and make sure everyone understands or has any questions that I might be able to answer. Have you guys had a chance to look at it in advance?
What is the exact due date?
The exact due date is coming up on, hang on, let me look at my deal and make sure I don't get my classes mixed up, because I'm really good about doing that.
I noticed the syllabus says Wednesday the 5th, but the 5th is Thursday. So I didn't know which day it was really due.
We'll do it on Thursday the 5th. I got off on my dates there, so
okay.
Yeah, so Thursday the 5th. That gives me time on these lengthier documents to get everything reviewed and before grades are due, before going into the summer session. So on Thursday the 5th. So if you look from like tonight, when we're talking and kind of going over it, there's really nothing in between that's due until this plan is due in between. Okay, so there's plenty of time on that. I know it's a busy time of the year. Just don't get caught up, and then here you are at the end scrambling around trying to do it and let it slip up on you. But so looking at the behavior intervention plan, have you guys had any exposure to that or dealt with it in your district any at all? No? Okay.
I just have the ones that are given to us after the kids are already in trouble.
Right.
So it's more like it comes from administration.
There you go.
This is your last strike before we
find
another place for you to.
Okay. So you're pretty much on the back side of it then. It's been handed to you, and depending on what size your district you're in, that may happen. Like I think Jamie, you mentioned there are social workers in your district, if I remember correctly last week. Is that right? Yeah. So you may have social workers and other individuals, and that's specifically what their job is and what their focus is. And so they're developing those intervention plans and then basically handing it down to everyone on down the ladder, basically as a guide to implement when working with that student. So you get in smaller districts, and I don't know, Marcy or Marla, you guys, if you're in some smaller districts, it may be all hands on deck when it comes to doing a behavior intervention plan where you're actually involved in that and have an active role in it. You're giving a lot of input as to what the goals are and targeted behaviors.
Yeah, my previous job was in a really tiny district in ourselves, but now I'm in Wichita, and there's social workers and psychologists, and
there you go.
Network. Okay,
so basically the behavior intervention plan, as you guys well know, is created when you're seeing some persistent and or severe behaviors. One, that interferes with the student's learning, or two, warrants interventions to positively direct that targeted behavior. So basically the plan identifies the type and then the cause of the behavior, a replacement behavior, using positive interventions, and what support will be provided to reinforce that replaced behavior, and also coming up with appropriate consequences. Okay. Also, a plan is going to define how the student's going to be taught the skills needed for the behavior modification, and then also ways it's going to be monitored. So it entails several different categories, and I don't know if Jamie, the plans you guys have been handed down even look similar to this. Again, this is kind of a shortened, modified version just to kind of give you some experience with it, so you kind of know some of the basic ins and outs. The forms or plans you're given may be a lot more extensive. They may be a lot lengthier. a lot more detailed. Again, this is just more of a condensed version. So first thing you're going to do on part one is you're looking at summary of findings. So problem behavior. What are some problem behaviors that you're seeing that can be identified you think needs to be addressed and come up with a behavioral plan on? What would be a common behavior? By having input on that?
Outbursts.
Okay. So problem behavior, you just simply, you're going to describe it. Outburst. What's the frequency of that? How many times are you seeing that per hour? I mean, this is where you go in and describe that. Are you seeing it 10 times an hour for 20 seconds at a time? I mean, is it?
I think we were just kind of doing an average. of
Okay,
our
yeah,
student,
right.
and
So you come up with an average. You've been monitoring this, right? So you come up with an average that you can put in here. Intensity level. Did y'all come up with on intensity level? I mean, are they getting down outburst and then getting down in the floor and kicking and screaming, or are they just screaming and yelling, or what's the intensity of it?
We just had loss of instructional time. Is that
Okay.
not what you mean for that?
Yeah, I mean, you
It's
can,
okay.
but also I'm thinking, are you seeing, as far as intensity, are you seeing some like super intense behaviors on this? Or is it just mainly just a lot of loss of instruction and having to redirect?
yeah, I think that's more what
Okay.
we were doing.
Okay.
We have the middle school, high school kids, and so it's distracting to the rest of the class and keep the kid off target. And
Okay. Duration. On average, what's the duration of it? Are we talking 15 seconds, 10 seconds, 1 minute? I mean, what's kind of your average on that you came up with?
For some of them, it was 10 to 15 seconds
Okay.
or several minutes. It just depended on
Okay.
the
So
behavior.
So on this, you could simply here, and again, this is just a summary of your findings. We're just to kind of give an overview of it. So you put in like 15 seconds up to 2 minutes. It's just kind of a summary of what you've been seeing, depending on the day, the specific behavior that's going on. So basically that's what you would do, is go through and list it. Is there another one? Is there more than one that you're seeing, or is it one consistent behavior that's a problem? Did you guys have just one, or was there more than one you noticed?
So for ours, we had, I guess because we were combining all three of us, we had a lot of behaviors. So
Okay.
I just picked like 3 to focus on.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, definitely. What would have been another one? We're just throwing it
Making
out.
noises, walking around the room,
Okay.
spinning in a circle.
Oh, spinning in a circle while they're walking around the room.
No, they're actually 2 different things.
Oh, okay. A lot of dizziness, right? So are they standing up, spinning? Is that what they're doing? Just like helicopter, or are they?
Yeah, like spinning, or yesterday one of the juniors insisted on twerking, and I had to repeatedly ask him to stop, and then instead he moved on to doing so with another classmate.
Did
There,
you say twerking?
that's what I said. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Kind of like on the what's the insurance commercial where it's got the same guy and he's doing all these goofy things. You know what I'm talking about?
yeah,
he'll-
I do.
You
The
know,
whole TikTok thing.
yeah,
twerk-
twerking. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, middle schoolers and probably high schoolers are obsessed with TikTok. So
Okay.
yeah, there's
Alright.
there's lots of
Okay. I got you. I just think of that commercial. So
yeah.
I can't help but laugh when I see it. So it's probably not helping the matter. Okay, so you got three. So next we're going to get a little bit more clear description of the target behavior. So here is the operational definition. So literally you're going to be writing a clear description of the targeted behavior that's going to be addressed. So this is where you would basically give detailed explanation and describe that behavior that you're going to address. So basically here you just very brief summary, and then here we're going to get specific. Identified function of the behavior. This is a clear description of the function that the target behavior is serving for the student. What do you think you would have here?
Well, their main goal is to get out of doing their work.
Right. Okay, so if they're twerking and putting on a show, they're thinking they can distract. If it's Jamie's student or Marla's, is it Jamie's student that's doing the twerking?
Oh, I've got ones that do it
Okay.
too.
So you guys probably all have them, right? So they're going to be over there cute and funny and thinking they can get out of work and distract the whole class. And before it's all said and done, they're like, oh, yeah, we got out of work for the whole hour, whatever it may be. So
That, and they
good.
also like to show off for their friends. You
Yeah.
know, it's pure attention and getting away from doing work. So I
Yeah.
think those are main goals.
Exactly. So this is where you would write the clear description of that and kind of the angle that you feel like the student is taking to try to serve their need by doing that. Okay. The next part on here is looking at the intervention itself, setting event strategies, and simply to kind of give you the prompt here. It's how can the environment, meaning the setting triggers, be anticipated or adjusted to minimize or avoid the targeted behavior? So looking at some environmental things, have you guys talked a little bit about this part of it? What would be some things in regarding the classroom setting or just the environment the students in that may trigger that, that you could adjust or perhaps minimize that behavior?
Did you mean like changing seats so that the kids that goof off together are separated?
Could be. That could be something as simple as that. Yeah, in that classroom setting. So I don't know what your classrooms look like. All different rooms are set up differently. So, for this group and how your classrooms or physical classrooms are set up may be totally different from group 2 or whoever, what other group is submitting a plan. So it could be something as simply as adjusting the seating, coming up with a signed chart or assigned seating that you develop because hey, I need to separate these personalities in that class to try to prevent or minimize that as a trigger. Will that student be less likely to get up and start twerking if those individuals that kind of add fuel to the fire are separated across the room versus if they're right there within proximity? Okay, is there another angle you think you could work on that besides the seating arrangement? Anybody have any idea on that?
We could probably change instructional practices, maybe less group work, even though that's ideal for a lot of learning. It may not work well for some groups.
Could be another thing. I always tell teachers a lot of times proximity is a great preventive tool. Just a lot more proximity, and I don't know what your styles are, but as far as being up on the move all the time, intermingling, if you're doing group work and just your proximity to the twerker, tweaker, whatever he may be, just your proximity, Jamie, within arm's reach of him and knowing you're right there may be enough to minimize it. Not saying it's going to totally go away, but it might minimize it. So sometimes that's a preventive mechanism you could implement. Okay, everyone kind of understand what they're looking for there. Next one is instructional interventions. And so kind of give you ideas on here on the templates is what changes to the curriculum or instruction would be helpful and who will make that happen. So in italics there, it talks about curricular instructional evidence-based strategies or interventions that could be used to minimize or avoid that targeted behavior. We think some intervention, or I'm sorry, some evidence-based strategies could be. You guys thought about that or talked about it amongst your group? Any changes to curriculum or instruction that might be helpful?
We just had chunking, so breaking up the work into smaller parts so that they don't get overwhelmed.
Yeah, that's definitely one. Anything else? Maybe you guys might have came up in your discussions when you guys were kind of collaborating on it that might be helpful.
Maybe providing both a paper pencil option and a digital. I think the kids get tired of working or always having to have their iPad or their Chromebook or whatever.
Okay, maybe providing that option and not having to keep up with a device. So definitely could be an option. Okay, was there any other thing when you guys were brainstorming that maybe came up? Chunking probably for students with special needs, a chunking deal could probably help definitely reduce any type of anxieties regarding a longer assignment or give them maybe more of a sense of accomplishment if they're able to complete those smaller tasks. Just maybe it might make them feel a little bit better about themselves by doing smaller increments over time versus handing them a lengthy assignment to do. So that definitely could serve as a preventive as well and changing the instructional method. Anything else there we need to talk about? Everyone feel good about that area? Marcy, everything good there? Okay. Consequential interventions. What consequential or positive reinforcement interventions would be useful? So this is where we're going to identify some strategies and interventions that can be used to reinforce and or redirect correct behavior and minimize targeted behavior. So if you got Johnny, whatever his name up, twerking and all that, what would be some strategies you could do to correct the behavior and minimize and avoid targeting the behavior?
So would it be good to have things like making positive comments when you notice they're doing the right thing?
Mm-hmm. It would definitely would. That would be one. Even while he was up doing it, maybe making some type of a positive comment that will draw attention away from the negative behavior that he's displaying.
For example,
if he's up twerking, you can make comments like, hey, I really, make a positive comment about his ability to express himself and then redirect the class and just move right on to the lesson without making a negative comment toward that attention that maybe give him momentum to keep doing it. Any other thing you could think of? What you have in mind on that, Jamie? Did you think of any?
well, we had positive verbal reinforcement for on-task behavior and extinction or no response for inappropriate behavior, but in truth, I will struggle to just ignore twerking. Like, I'm going to be honest and say, I don't like it. Please stop.
Oh, no,
Like,
I would have a
I don't
hard
want to
time
do
with
that.
it too. I just, you try to think of a way to kind of diffuse that with, you know what I'm saying, without bringing the negative to it, to kind of add where he feels empowered because he got you. That makes sense? So, yeah, I'd have a hard time with that. I have to kind of back off sometimes because I have an old school way of thinking about things. So I have a hard time with some of that. And I have to kind of catch myself at times. So I totally understand what you're saying. Totally. What about identify replacement behavior? What behavior or behaviors will be taught to replace the target behavior? Then how would it be taught or retaught? You guys talk about that a little bit?
Go ahead, Jamie. You have a good one there.
Yeah.
So we had that the student would have an object, like something that you pre-pick to put on their desk to indicate that they feel unable to do the assignment, and then do some Sudoku while they're waiting for the teacher to come over. Because I know in our inclusion classes, there are like 30 plus kids.
Mhm.
So just because I know somebody needs me doesn't mean I could get there that second.
Right.
So as long as they can, you know, put their duck or whatever on the desk, and then we know that they're coming. And then it would be explained by the teacher to the student ahead of time, and then reinforced by the teacher by
Sure.
showing up when
Yeah.
they put the thing on the desk.
No, that's good. And so actually during that time, they're still able to do something that's productive to keep them from getting off task and causing a disruption, right? You mentioned Sudoku. So they can work on that until you or the teacher can get over to them to provide that reinforcement, correct? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. Do y'all have any other thing that came up while you were brainstorming? No? Okay. Part 3, areas of concern. This is where you're going to identify unexpected events or other possible behaviors that may emerge in the process of teaching the replacement behavior. Consider how you would minimize peers reinforcing a new detrimental behavior. Okay. Any possible difficult situations that you can think of that may emerge that would derail your behavior intervention plan. Okay, so we keep going back to the student displaying his skills. What are going to be some things you're thinking ahead is like, okay, what am I going to do if, and you anticipate some behaviors? What would be some things that you would anticipate could come up?
Well, the other students getting in on it, doing
Okay.
it themselves,
Right.
egging on.
Yeah.
There's always that mob mentality kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's something that's very legitimate that could. So you're looking ahead and anticipating on that. Okay, how would you go about trying to minimize peers reinforcing the negative or detrimental behavior? What would be some things that you could kind of do to try to diffuse that? Anybody have your group have any thoughts on that? Any ideas? Man, everybody's quiet tonight. What's the deal?
By that time, the whole class is distracted. You kind of have to just regroup and
You do.
start over.
You do. You have to regroup. You have to really think quick on your feet. You definitely you don't want to show your frustration if at all possible because they just won.
Exactly.
You know, even in district I'm working with, that's happened. Even with a veteran teacher right now. just came and basically had a little bit of a breakdown with the building level principal. Been teaching, does a phenomenal job, has a really extremely challenging class, a freshman. And so, you know, you mentioned this one student that's twerking and doing all that. So imagine a class of about 30 characters like that at one time. And that's just kind of the mindset of that group. And so basically just kind of got to a point and she just kind of broke down in front of the class, which I'm thinking, oh, okay, they got her there, you know, kind of broke her down. So definitely want to try to avoid that if at all possible, because it just gives them the sense that if they won, they got you on that. Any possible difficult situations that might emerge out of that would derail the plan? What could be something that'll come out of that just totally derail your plan?
Are we still talking about 30 kids twerking?
Yeah, I mean, I just threw that in there. I was just giving you an example of a veteran
Okay. So
teacher
instead,
here.
what if we had the kid play with the toy that's supposed to, in the object that's supposed to indicate that they need help?
Right.
So then basically, instead we could bribe them to not do that, please. Incentivize them by saying every time you put the thing out, you get your favorite candy.
Okay. So coming up with an incentive on that. Okay.
I was gonna say, if I'm kindergarten, my kids would just eat the duck, the toy. Chew it.
You may have
That'd
to
be
make
That would be the new behavior, is they just start chewing on it or throwing it or quacking or whatever. You said duck, so that's why I'm saying quack. I mean, it just,
make sure it's a candy.
maybe
duck,
high school would
Marcy.
do the same thing.
Some of them would. Like they found some dried beans and like one of them ate a bean, but it was like years old.
Oh man.
Yeah, like, and these are again not the sophomores. The sophomores act better. This is the juniors. Like, I don't
thought
know.
you were gonna say sticking in their ear or up their nose or
Probably. I don't know.
Okay, looking at the last section of the plan is just monitoring and evaluations. Let's talk about monitoring the behavior. So how would the behavior be assessed and evaluated? So here you basically, you're taking into consideration what data is going to be collected, how will it be collected, and how often, and who's going to do it. So if you're going to kind of evaluate the effectiveness of your plan and collect data, what data would you want to collect? How would you go about collecting it? What did you guys come up with on this when you were just kind of talking amongst each other and looking at it?
We were just planning on kind of a before and after, the same kind of data collection process,
Okay.
but comparison.
Okay. So kind of essentially what you did before, as far as monitoring behaviors and use the same type of method, and then also go back and do a comparison to see over time, once the plan had been implemented, if you noticed a decrease in the frequency of the behavior that was displayed. And essentially he's going to do it, teacher in the classroom, right? It's not going to be done by outside person, building principal, or anybody like that. It's going to be done by you within the room, correct? Is that what you guys had? Yeah. Okay. Is there any questions on those areas? I know we just kind of went down through there and talked about them, but any questions on that? I will tell you this, and I was wanting to kind of wait till we got through this to make this comment, but right now, and you guys, I'm sure, are seeing this, okay? Even going back to previous semesters prior to COVID and doing this class, and then talking to grad students and then listening to comments and feedback from you guys now, on the backside of COVID, will tell you, you can ask around neighboring districts, talk to your administration, all that. I will say that more off the wall behaviors are being displayed by students, regardless of whether they have a disability or not. I think just about every district, it's becoming a widespread issue where they're seeing an uptick in behavioral issues, discipline problems, inappropriate behaviors displayed in classes. I know, Jamie, you guys seeing that where you're at, Marcy, Marta, you getting feedback from peers in your building?
Yeah, in fact, part of our negotiations for our district right now involves some behavior strategies and more severe consequences, that kind of thing, just because it is a widespread issue.
It is. And like I said in the big superintendent deal yesterday with on a board, it's made up of superintendents from large 6A schools down to the smallest classification B, class B here in the state. And we kind of went around and talked about common things that we're seeing, concerns and ways to address it next year. And it's a common thing, whether it's the largest school districts in the state or down to some of the smaller ones. There's 2 or 3 areas it's common, and one's the behavioral issues, and then it's all tied into mental health issues that we're seeing in students, and just a lot more challenges within the classroom. So you look at this and you think, hey, if I do this, and they just turn around and do something different, that's more bizarre and off the chart. And I see Jamie smiling, thinking, probably, yeah, that's true, that's happening. And so we are seeing that it's becoming an issue. And I would say probably a lot of your districts, whether it's there in Kansas, here in Oklahoma, there's a lot more of these behavior intervention plans that are having to be developed for kids right now, especially compared to maybe 3 years ago, prior to the pandemic. So I don't know if you guys are seeing that in your district. Do you feel like that's common in your district? Marcy shaking her head. Marta, are you seeing that where you're at? You in the smaller
It is.
school?
It's common where I'm working, and it's common where we live, which is like a neighboring district. And
Yeah.
thank you. It's just, I don't know. It's killing me. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the stress, everybody's stress levels through the roof because you try everything. And then another common theme that I'm hearing from superintendents and just even building principals is that it's almost, whether they're young, elementary, all the way up to high school, it's this, whatever you do to correct the behavior, it's like, doesn't even faze them. It's like, I don't care. I'm gonna keep doing it. I mean, it just does not change their actions. So yeah, everybody's frustration level is just elevated all the way through. So
Yeah, but it's just like it's resulting in unbelievably low expectations for the children. And that goes from the high school down to kindergarten readiness.
sure.
Like there's like, I want to say like no expectation, like no, like, yes, we have standards, but assessing those standards is getting swifter. It's, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's a bit
I think
much.
it's kind of I'm trying to think how to say it, but it's kind of a ripple effect. And I think it's went to a whole different level coming off the pandemic. I think it hit the tipping point there and just kind of went to a different level, to where it's almost kind of a societal norm now, where it's almost like that. We just kind of want to do our own little thing, and regardless of what the standards might be or what procedures are or what protocols are, and we don't want anybody telling us what to do. And then also don't want to have to be the bad guy in the deal for fear of some type of retaliation or backlash from the parent. So, and you go back through the pandemic and all the different things we saw going on out here in society. And I think it's just trickling down. And we're seeing that now in the school district, in the systems. So kind of a double-edged sword. Any other feedback? Marcy, you guys, Marla, seeing the same thing Jamie's kind of talking about? Kind of. Yeah.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, anybody have any questions over the template there? Everybody feel okay about it? Okay.
We're good.
Now I'll pop on next week. Anybody, I mean, it's not a have-to deal since there's a significant window of time from starting on this now until when it's due. I know you guys have a lot going on, and I don't want to just bring you on just to take up your time, but I'll be on if you guys have any questions or anything. If you don't, no big deal. Okay, next week. So in the meantime, if you have questions, just email and I'll get back to you in the morning or the evening. Okay. You guys hang in there. School's almost out and get a little downtime.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys. Have a good evening.
Thanks.
You.
Bye-bye.